Hi everyone, and welcome back to Sketch Lab for Kids. Today, we're combining two amazing art styles, Yayoi Kusama's polka dot inspired scratch art hearts and Romero Britto's bold, colorful patterns to create a fun and vibrant heart-themed artwork. This beginner-friendly tutorial is perfect for all ages and great for art teachers looking for a creative classroom project. We'll start by making scratch art hearts and then paint a Romero Britto-inspired background using repetition. Let's get started. So if you have a hard time drawing hearts, you can draw a letter V for the bottom of the heart, and then a letter M for the top. We'll move on to outlining with a Sharpie marker, and then cleaning it up with our eraser. This is the coloring rule thirds. So the coloring rule thirds is how artists can use color as value. Colors have value. So you can see in this example it's pink, red, and maroon. So for instance, pick a color and go one direction on the color wheel. So for instance, I could go red, orange, yellow, or I can go red, red, violet, purple. On this example, I'm going pink, which is light red, red, violet, and purple. This is called an analogous color scheme. They're next door neighbors on the color wheel. So once again, the coloring rule of thirds is how you can use color as value. So I'm going to start with my darkest color first, and I could go side to side, but I'm going to turn my paper and I'm just going to make my brush strokes just all go up and down the same direction. So using the coloring rule of thirds with oil pastels, I'm going to start off with my darkest color first. So you can see I'm actually using the coloring rule thirds in reverse. And the reason is because I'm going to be using an overlaying technique to mix the oil pastel right on the paper. And you can see I'm trying to color it in nice and solid. Now this is the red violet. I'm going to go halfway over the purple and going back and forth. That's how you color mix with oil pastels. I'm just using the oil pastel itself to mix. And you can see I don't want to leave any white spots because when I do my scratch art with the tempera sticks today, the tempera paint will stick to the white paper and it will not scratch off. So that's why it's going to be nice and solid. Now I'm going to switch to my lightest color. So in review we did 1/3 with our darkest value, and then we did 2/3 across with our medium value, and then now we're just going to finish off our heart with our lightest value, the pink. And the overlaying technique is I'm just going halfway over the previous color, and once again that's how you can color mix with oil pastels. So this is a Kwik stick, and I'm going with my darkest value, purple, because it's going to have the most contrast. If I used pink, it wouldn't show up as well. I wouldn't be able to really see the pattern. These are my options. I have, you could do a toothpick, but you know what? These dotting tools are the best. The dotting tools are awesome. Look at this one I got. Pretty cool. So the dotting tools have a rounded tip and they never dull and they will not tear through your paper. And you can see today I also have a circle template, which is going to help us create the polka dots, which is a characteristic of Yayoi Kusama's artwork. She used repetition of polka dots, and there's a wonderful book called From Here to Infinity, and she explains her concept of the polka dots. So it's kind of like a microcosm, macrocosm as far as the universe goes. So she's like, we're just one little polka dot in an infinite number of polka dots in the universe. And it's like I said, a concept of, even though for us the world is everything, it's all we know, but in the universe we might just be like a tiny little grain of sand in the grand scheme of things. So here I'm going to go in with a larger circles down the center, and I'm going to go with smaller circles out towards the edge. So I'm going to use some different sizes of circles. You do want to do this while the Kwik stick is still wet. The Kwik sticks do dry within 90 seconds. So as they start drying, you're going to notice that when you scratch, it will kind of start peeling off a little bit more like a skin. So as soon as I get these Kwik Stix down, I want to start scratch arting. And this is really awesome to do, and you can see a lot of people think like, you know, when I scratch art, I just use the color black. Well, guess what? You can scratch art with different colors. And today we're doing more of a heart themed, so I'm kind of going more Valentine's Day colors with pinks and purples, red, violets. So now the area around these circles would be considered the negative space. We want to scratch off as much of the negative space as possible. And once again, I'm just keeping my brush strokes in the same direction. I'm just going to go up and down. And as we do that, the circles are becoming now polka dots. Those are called the positive shapes. Positive shape, and the area around it, the negative space. Those are vocabulary words there. So we're removing, scratch arting the negative space around these polka dots. And you really do want to take your time. Obviously with the Kwik Stix, we can go back, and if I accidentally scratched through a polka dot, I could actually put the Kwik Stick back down and then re-scratch it. So you could possibly do touch-ups if you wanted to. And that's something with regular scratch art paper. With acrylic paint, you have to let it dry. Obviously you could still do touch-ups with that, but like I said, Kwik Stix are way more convenient. As soon as you're done creating your oil pastel background, you just throw the Kwik Stix right on top and you're scratch arting. And sometimes when you create your own scratch art paper, it doesn't scratch very well. You're not going to have a problem with this. This is the best. I've tried them all. This is the best way to scratch art, in my humble opinion. And you can see this dotting tool is awesome. Sometimes with the toothpicks, the tips start to break, they start to dull. Sometimes if you scratch too hard, it scratches through your paper. And with this rounded tip on the dotting tool, you do not have a problem. It scratches off beautifully. You might start to notice a little bit now. You see how it's scratching off a little bit more like a skin? So that's what happens when the Kwik Stix starts to dry. I'm wiping off my tool there. So sometimes after you've been scratching and removing a lot of this material, just use a piece of paper towel to wipe that off. And look at that, guys. We have these wonderful Kusama-inspired polka dots. And that is a great example of repetition. So both of our artists today use repetition in their artwork. And so now I'm going to move on to creating a Romero Britto-inspired background. So I'm going to use that same little circle tool. If you wanted to, you could use a ruler. And I'm going to be drawing 3 lines today. So just 3. And that's going to break this paper up into 4 sections. So I got my first line. And to hold my tool, you can see I like to use my L hand. And I'm going to stick with that same analogous color scheme that I was using earlier. So I've got my red, violet, violet, and then now I'm adding some white as well to my color palette. And this is called a tint. This is called hard edge brushwork that you just saw. So when you draw a line with a paintbrush, it's just like you're drawing a line with a pencil. So when you're doing these edges, you don't want to keep lifting up and lifting up and lifting up your brush. So look at that. When I do my edges, I like to keep my brush down and just drag the brush just like I would draw a straight line. Once again, you can see that slow down when you go around your edges. And the only time I lift my brush up is to reload the brush with paint. And then once I'm away from my edges, then I can go back and forth. I can lift my brush up. Not a problem. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. And then now I'm going to go in with my circle tool and I'm going to use some acrylic paint markers. These are Posca paint markers. And once again, I'm using the same color palette. So I've got pinks, red violets, and violets today. And these Posca paint markers work beautifully when you've established a ground with acrylic paint. So this is really the best way to use them, is to establish a ground first with acrylic paint, because they can tear up paper, the nibs on these. And so I always recommend painting over the top of an acrylic ground that you've established first, which we've already done. There is no tearing at all. Okay, so when I cut, I'm right-handed, so my right hand just opens and closes the scissors, and my left hand holds and turns the paper. If you try to do everything with the same hand, it hurts your hand. So once again, you can see my left hand is turning the paper. My left hand, all it's doing is opening and closing. And sometimes you might have a little bit of a white edge or something. You might need to go back and do some little touch-ups before we glue that down. We'll go ahead and use a black marker to outline those original 3 lines. You can see that background is definitely looking like Romero Britto. And now when I glue stick, I'm going to be very generous, press that down. I'm going to add a few more hearts here to the composition and the reveal. Voila. Look at that, guys. Well, if you loved today's scratch art hearts inspired by Yayoi Kusama and Romero Britto, I've got even more fun scratch art projects waiting for you. Check out my scratch art playlist where you'll find easy, beginner-friendly tutorials on making your own DIY scratch paper, creative doodle designs, and other fun artist mashups. Perfect for kids, beginners, and art teachers looking for new lesson ideas. Each video walks you through step-by-step techniques to create bold, colorful, and eye-catching scratch art using oil pastels and tempera paint sticks. Whether you're in the classroom or creating at home, these projects are engaging. They're so satisfying and full of creativity. So don't forget to click the link in the description to watch the scratch art playlist and get inspired. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more awesome art tutorials. Happy creating! See you in the next video.